Hey, it's me, Big P. I wanted to quickly go over my plans for the 3.20 Sanctum League start. I'm deciding to ruin my own league start by starting something off-meta, untested skill, just because I want to see how Vaal Blade Flurry is going to work. As a main skill, I've liked Blade Flurry for a while now. I know it's really mostly popular on a General's Cry build as a Berserker because it's a channeling skill, and if you don't know, standing still in Path of Exile is like top #1 ways to die in a map and stuff like that. So this is, I'm just going to start the video here by saying I don't recommend you start this. I'm not suggesting this is going to be strong or a good league starter at all. Just a quick look at the tree, and we're actually going to get into some gameplay because I did do a test leveling build up to about Blood Aqueducts with very standard. I did it in SSF Kalandra, which just got migrated today. We got a 200 something DPS weapon here, you know, nothing even close to what your stuff should actually be. And we'll just run a Blood Aqueduct and talk a little bit about why I'm going to do this to myself. Because I don't know if you can see right there. Oh, did I already run this one? Oh, I got to open up a new one, my bad. I mean, I'm glad we're going to be able to use Whirling Blades. It's like, I don't know, it basically is just, you're not, I believe you're not going to be able to trigger the Vaal version with General's Cry. It's basically the only reason you would do the attack build yourself is because of the new Vaal version. It looks pretty good. It looks like it's going to cover some of Blade Flurry's weaknesses in terms of, well, I mean, the AoE looks pretty nice. We'll talk about that on the tree, but you kind of have to rely on Reeve. A lot of times the Blade Flurry is paired with Reeve being the clear skill, Blade Flurry the single target. And I told myself, I said, hey, if the Vaal Blade Flurry seems like it's going to help like clear up the weaknesses of the skill, that being kind of having weak clear, can't really off-screen stuff, and then in maps you have to stand still to get your full damage out. It's coming out pretty slowly. If you don't know, basically you want to channel until 6 stacks there. When you do, something will pop up here. That's basically how you just watch to maximize DPS. Of course, in practice, when you're fully set up with a 6 link and a well-geared character, you know, you don't have to do the full channel to clear. I mean, even now with like scuffed gear, I'm still leveling gems. You know, you clear out the white mobs. It is worth noting that, well, here we have gargantuan ones. You know, Arch Nemesis is not going to be in next league, so the, you know, real tricky offenders are going to be kind of dealt with here. But yeah, I don't know. We are doing champion over something like Slayer. I think Slayer might have better AoE and more damage. And then if you want to do a bleed version, you could do Gladiator, or just one that is more focused on block. I want champion. I think champion's a nice balance of damage, sturdiness. I think the last one I did was Lightning Strike champion, and yeah, it's just like a kind of nice middling ground. I think overall I'll probably go into Slayer, especially if we drop Impale. Overall, that's another reason to go champion over the other two, is because the Impale version, you know, Impale's going to do a lot of quick hits. I think it'll work even better with the Vaal version. We'll see. I can't help but wonder if the Vaal version is actually going to be good for single target as well, which would just kind of help put the build over the top. I don't expect the build to do anything crazy besides my first 2 Watchstones and maybe a couple favored map slots. I just want to see, you know, maybe we can throw a Savior on it, and like, you know, it has been massively buffed, but it will also be more expensive in turn. But yeah, maybe something. It's going to be a build that we're going to have to invest on the weapon. We'll also go over like the crafting goals we can have with this build, more or less just getting spell suppression on gear, which can be a little bit easier now with the Harbinger orbs, the fracture orbs, so you can like fracture spell suppression and then craft it on the gear. But yeah, that's it. Of course, the flasks and everything, even the gem setups aren't ideal right now. But yeah, that's how it's going to take. It does look pretty slow, definitely a little bit leaning towards single target instead of mapping, but I'm going to have a mapping character after, so I'm not really concerned about that. Let's go over the tree real quick. Firstly, let's just focus on the ascendancy points, how I'd prioritize them. First two would be Unstoppable Hero and and Fortitude. Once you get this, you're going to want to put Fortify in your main links if you do plan on leveling with Blade Flurry, which I kind of don't recommend. I was doing it with this just to kind of get a feel for the skill, and it's a little rough. I might just stick with Helix, even though it's been nerfed, or something else, you know. I'm not really familiar with leveling attack builds, so I'm kind of just going to get used to Blade Flurry. Just kind of, you know, get acclimated with what we'll have to do, how it'll feel as you go into maps. But yeah, Fortify. Pulverize gives a lot of area of effect, but a lot also of less attack speed. So if you're really, you know, hurting for attack speed, it's going to feel very clunky with this. Kind of have to move these around. In the final 6th link, we don't have Impale because you'll be getting that on the tree, and with stuff like Master of Metal. I'll actually go for Master of Metal last because I want First to Strike, Last to Fall. When I'm in maps, I'll get this right before we kill Kitava, just because it'll help us deal with ailments, even though we will be leveling with Purity of Elements, of course. And then like Adrenaline is just going to be nice, kind of save our ass in maps. I'd rather have this now, rather than wait for the Uber Lab, because the Uber Lab we can just get like super duper Impale. That's basically what this is. It gives you a better Impale and a bit of armor. Like it's just like a little bit over the top. We already have 100% chance to Impale and you know, plenty of armor and stuff. But yeah, the tree's kind of just in like a pretty good area. There are some points where like this is kind of we're gonna maybe try and path more efficiently or drop this for a cluster jewel, but again, a lot of this is subject to change, especially because melee splash is being added to the tree. Now melee splash on the gem can only affect strike skills. Will that limitation also be on the updated splash on the tree? I'm not sure. We're gonna have to see. If so, we can drop some stuff like the area of effect here and like melee strike range here, you know, just for other stuff to fill out a cluster jewel, because this is a level 92 tree. We are helping Alira here, and we only have one jewel socket. It's kind of weak, but there are usually pretty good attack cluster jewels you can get that have to do with either Impale or other, you know, but I think attack speed is something we're going to be hurting for until we get like a really good weapon. But yeah, otherwise it's a pretty standard tree. I'm going to focus on like getting some max res for sure, just like kind of round out defenses in terms of a lot of armor. We're not going to run Grace or anything. We're just going to run Iron Reflexes. And then, yeah, like I said, Spell Suppression, although these 5 or 6 points, because we might do the 12 if you have evasion on everything. That'll bring us up to 68 on the tree between this and Entrench. That's pretty good. So you only need to really get it on like a couple more gear slots there and you'll be spell capped. You know, even before that, I do say that this would be like the last chunk of points here. You know, we'll get in the late 80s because that's when we'll really get into crafting like decent pieces of gear, like good gloves and stuff like that, good helmet and whatever. Other than that, it's just, yeah, Fatal Blade. There's some really good sword mastery stuff, like chance to get a frenzy charge when you hit a unique enemy, because we are going to be using Blood Rage. But it's going to be really nice to have it up on bosses. We're doing plenty of hits, so we should be maxed out pretty much all the time, as well as, you know, you're getting chance to Impale from the Sword Mastery. Again, you can kind of move that around as you need. Like you have Impale effect here, but then 10% chance here. And then we also have, you know, we're running a Dread Banner. Yeah, basically the first thing you're going to want to do is set up Impale. It's just going to give you a lot of flat damage. However, when you're leveling, I was leveling with a sword that had like a nice chunk of lightning damage on it too. So that's probably why you won't want to use Brutality until you have like a late game setup with like a more physical damage sword, things like that. Let's go over the full skill jumps now. This is obviously going to be replaced with Vaal Blade Flurry. It's Tuesday night and the 2020 gems haven't been posted yet, so you know, I'll put a comment linked here if there's anything like changes what the setup should be. Infused channeling is basically one of the only reasons to run a channeling skill. It's very good in terms of making you deal more damage of supported skill gem tags, and then you also take less damage. So that's from attacks, AoE, channeling, physical, and melee. It's pretty nice coverage. You know, the build is going to feel pretty tanky even without stuff like block. We could go into block, but that depends on, again, the gear that we get. We'd have to adjust the tree appropriately, and we're not in a great place for it. But either way, Brutality would come next along with melee physical damage, because we are a melee build, and a pure phys build with Impale. And then probably we'll be mixing the couple here. If we feel like we really need AoE, it'll be pulverized. Otherwise, close combat might actually be pretty good, and just in terms of like raw damage and keeping mapping a bit more fluid. As you saw, the gameplay itself was a little clunky there, but close combat can give us a lot more attack speed to travel skills. Also, our Whirling Blades wasn't with faster attacks in that gameplay there, but I do think we're going to need to get crit chance, or rather crit strikes, in the main 6-link, particularly because, well, I don't know, we're probably not going to be able to get like I think it's on the Elder chest or whatever that gives it attack crit. We're going to want to do like, you know, spell sep or max res with the Eldritch implicits and stuff like that on a chest piece. So unless we get like a really good crit weapon, but we'll get to gearing after I go over the skills. And you know, like I said, just so that you don't get rid of all your flat elemental rolls like while you're leveling with it, just use like pulverize. Just don't use brutality. That's really my main thing here. The auras here: Determination, Dread Banner, Pride, Herald of Purity, Precision, and Blood and Sand. It's a lot to fit in, but I think between the reservation stuff you get here, as well as stuff like the Determination and Dread Banner, reservation efficiency, obviously you'll have to get kind of a lower level Precision or something like that, as well as one of the items you might run is Ichimonji, which has 10% increased mana reservation efficiency, as well as increased effective buffs. Probably going to be a pretty solid first weapon to invest in. Otherwise, you can just use an On's Might. It's like 1C during League start. It's like 300 something DPS. That'll probably get you into red maps, because it's going to be a little tricky to craft like a perfect weapon. This is like a very mediocre jeweled foil. So yeah, but we're kind of getting off the skills. Let's finish them up here. Again, fitting this in, we'll see what works, what doesn't. Herald of Purity we might have to drop until we get a Circle of Guilt. So that might actually come last. Everything else might take a priority over that. And Pride will be replaced with Purity of Elements while we're leveling. Here's the move skills. Whirling Blades, faster attack. You do also want to Flame Dash just because Whirling Blades can't cross gaps as well. And then Life Tap just to make sure you can always get them out. Because you might have some mana issues. You don't have a huge mana cost on Blade Flurry, but it is a channeling skill, so you will be kind of just sitting there and just pumping mana out. And if you're not hitting something and leeching off it, then it shouldn't be that bad. But again, we'll have to balance it and see, as with most builds, maybe we'll need to craft minus mana cost on rings or something like that. Here's totems. You could probably do this better. I don't even know if you need multiple totems here. You can maybe put Enduring Cry here instead, and then we'll have a big Molten Shell for cast when damage taken. Probably around the threshold of where Adrenaline kicks in, just to kind of have that sort of consistency between the build. As far as gearing goes, yeah, so the chased item for me is pretty much going to be the Savior. I've never had the Savior on a build. It kind of would be perfect for a build like this. I think you kind of just get the General's Cry gameplay of having the reflections do your Blade Flurry. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty sick to you know, try. Obviously we might need to socket. I don't know how reflection works. I don't think you need to socket gems into it. But yeah, that comes later. Again, Paradoxica, well rolled one for physical damage. Of course, you can honestly drop all of the impale stuff off the tree and just go for an elemental damage type build. That's a little different, of course, and would come much later with different gear. But yeah, just Ichimonji is probably going to be the first one I really look at, and then everything else, honestly, I just put in as just stuff that can roll both. Well, spell suppression is the main thing, and then some armor as well. We'll also be converting all the evasion on the gear to armor with iron reflexes, but you don't have to worry about this till like the last couple points, I would say. Between that, yeah, this is basically how the tree would look like, yeah, at level 85, and then the last chunk would be iron reflexes and then the spell set. I mean, you could get it early if you're feeling like you're dying a lot in maps, but I think between max res and, you know, fortify affecting any hit-based spells or attacks, should be okay. Again, you know, we are going to need to really focus on tankiness. You're not going to win any mapping speed records. Probably not going to scale into Ubers, but I just got to see it for myself. I want to see. I love Blade Flurry, and I want to see how Vaal Blade Flurry works. And again, you know, noting that it is a Vaal skill, there's a lot of unique items that, you know, depending on the properties and the charges that Vaal Blade Flurry have, maybe we can do some funky, weird cheating stuff. You know, never say never. It's Path of Exile. That's why we love it. Almost here. But yeah, I don't want to take... I did this... I could try and push this into, you know, to like at least get my first 2 Watchstones. But it's actually gone to standard now. Okay, no, it's, oh, I haven't, whatchamacallit, migrated this. Either way, whatever. I'd still, just want to see, you know, come back Sunday or Monday and we'll see how bad, it actually turned out. I think it might actually be pretty solid though, at least in terms for a starter, which would be the baseline of getting 2 Watchstones from the quests and then your couple favored map slots, and then we'll see, you know, what comes out. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a Magic Find Farmer this league, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, Path coming soon. I'm going to go play some Dwarf Fortress. Let me know what you're starting at. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Toots.